remains troubled this Tokyo Olympic year. Joining me to discuss athletic development this morning live all the way from Abeokuta City of Ogun, in Ogun State, is Lake Consueto, a respected statistician who deals with athletics. Lekon, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
It's nice to have you. And of course, Frederick Agbaje is the chief priest of the village athletics. He joins the sports show live all the way from the city of Dallas, Texas, in the United States. Frederick, the village chief priest. You are welcome. Village athletics chief priest, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right. And from El Paso, a city located more than 1,000 kilometers, about 10 hours drive away from Dallas, Texas, comes Abiola Onokoya live. Abiola was a member of the 2011 All-Africa Games, 4x400 meters champion, 2012 Senior Athletics Championship king, a member of the Team Nigeria relay team to the World Athletics Championship in Moscow. Abiola, thanks for joining us all the way from your US team.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, it's nice to have the three of you. And listeners should please understand that these men are passionate about athletics development in our country. And they like to see athletes, the Nigerian athletes, perform so well around the world. And of course, we are going to be bringing them in on athletics development every moment we're talking about athletics. So let's start with Lekon. The World Relay is about starts tonight in Poland, and will Team Nigeria be participating?
Obviously, from the news we are getting and confirmation from the Athletic Federation of Nigeria, Nigeria will not be participating.
And why is this? Why is it?
Well, I believe the last is from the Secretariat. If you are applying to attend an international competition in another man's country, you ought to have at least applied for the visa like at least a month before. So that when you are now planning, you know what you're planning for. You already have all the necessary documents. You are sponsoring, the government is sponsoring you and the rest of it. So why would you now wait last minute to apply for visa? And they were denied. To me, it's a big slap on Nigeria that will be saying we are denied visa for attending competition that we know in the year now that we are going to participate in. So, visa denial.
I understand it. And we're in the US. Abiola, you are a former champion in the athletics. You've been running the track like your other colleagues. How significant as such a relay to you and the nation in general? Abiola.
Well, thank you for having me on this program, Mr. Tunde. And good morning to all Nigerians. You see, running the relay, we know that Nigeria has been a powerhouse in sprint and jump. And any opportunity which Nigerians have to showcase their talent, should not be taken for granted. Nevertheless, we need to understand that there are things that need to be put in place. The house has been in turmoil for the past almost 3 years now. And this has been the problem which come back to bite the athletes at the knee. And you see, not going to the World Relay does not mean Nigeria is not going to be at the Olympics, relays. So it might be an opportunity lost, but which could be regained. And I think people in charge are putting in, amount of effort to see that Nigeria gets qualified, for the Olympics.
Okay. That's a very serious issue. And now, Frederick, the village athletics chief priest, this is where it requires prayers. Why should we have a house burning against itself? You have a factional president, this and that, I'm troubled, and then the minister is coming in to actually find the member of this code. Why should this happen? And are you not praying against it as chief priest?
I don't believe in prayers.
Okay.
I am sad, very hungry, and disappointed. As I speak, 8 hours from now, the war relays will be kicking off in Poland.
Okay.
The spotlight will be on those youngsters who have worked hard to end their sport in Poland today. But their Nigerian counterparts will be missing in action. As usual, it's not by their own making.
That's correct.
But by the incompetence of a minister. These youngsters, who are predominantly children of the poor, these youngsters, where they their house now,
yes,
they feel no get light to watch this thing on TV. Instead of being watched, their dream and hopes have been sacrificed at the altar of politics. These youngsters who, despite all the odds against them, not just by their village people, but by the Ministry of Youth and Sport Development, led by an incompetent dictator, Sunday Dare. Let me finish, sir.
I know you.
No, sir, please let me finish. Please let me finish.
Okay.
At a point in time when 50 million Nigerian children are out of school, according to the United Nations, 3 out of every children out of school in the world are in Nigeria. At a time when my country is bleeding and in the verge of collapsing. And instead of him, the minister, to come out and explain to Nigerian taxpayers why Team Nigeria will be missing in action in Poland today, he decided it is best to make mockery of them by dissolving the federation. And the Nigerian media today is playing host to this incompetent dictator, cheap stunt. Please, I am very interested in talking about the exceptional times our athletes are chunking out every weekend. Let's talk about how well our home-based athletes are performing despite the pandemic and lack of support from the incompetent minister. Let's talk about how our college athletes are rewriting the history book of NCAA. Let's talk about the exploit of African queen of the track, Blessing Okagbade and Devan Oduduro this season so far. Most importantly, let's talk about the heroes of this season so far, the Nigerian coaches who they make this happen from nothing. Please, let us not fall cheap. Let us not fall cheap to Dare stunts. We are better than that. Make him come out and explain to Nigerian taxpayer why we know the Poland, and he should apologize. If necessary, he should resign. I'm sorry, I'm very hungry.
I understand you. Okay. Sheldon, you have to come in because you are very passionate about giving the opportunities to our coaches, especially the local coaches. You mentioned some names to me before who have been doing so well, and then our athletes like the chief said are doing so well internationally. Maybe we should just concentrate on that and leave the big men to whatever they are doing inside the boardroom. What do you think?
Thank you. I totally agree with you on this, and I concur 100% with Frederick Advice. Okay. Let's focus on performance and growth.
Okay.
When we talk about our Nigerian coaches, there is George Obiano in Port Harcourt, who trained an athlete to hit Olympic standards at home. The athlete has never stepped out of Africa. He was only at the Abidjan under 20 championship in 2019. Okay, and they went by road. And today, he has hit Olympic standard in not just one event, 2 events, 100 meters, 11:09, 200, 22:79 at the National Sports Festival, when all odds were against that. So the same coach actually trained Ophili Favor that we are all talking about, the which kid, the youngest at the World Championship in Doha 2019. The same coach got off Ophili and some other athletes. One of the athletes down 16 meters in 50 jump at the just completed national sports festival. Nobody is talking about him. Nobody is asking how he was able to do it. Frederick Abadi and Anokoya, they were grassroots athletes. They were brought up from nothing to something. I watched them live into world-class athletes. And what did Nigeria do to support them? The same circle is coming in now. We have those who have met Olympic standards, and we are not talking about sponsoring them or doing something about them. So let us talk about the home-based performance first. From young stars, Favor Ati, running 10-1, 10-0 win at home. Somebody who has never attended international competition. I've only met him during the National Sports Festival. I'm telling you, as a practitioner in Nigeria, I met somebody who has done a 10-1 after he has done a 10-1. To tell you we have abundant talent, we are just wasting time today. So let's talk about our queen of the track. Let's look at let's 22-03. That would have been a PB. It was a 2.5 win, very close one. Then Oduduru did in 1988. Goruto is PB. How many Nigerians have done some 20 in history? Only few of them, 2 of them are in Francis Obikwelu, now in Portugal. Then Oduduru, he did a 10-05 just yesterday again in 100 meters, confirming that his 9.8 he did during the NCAA championship is not a fluke. Our queen of the track who poses in 100 meters with 11-0, then 10-97. What's that easy? She's running fast and she's doing it. And we are not talking about that. We are not talking about a young girl that ran a 51-7 at the National Sports Festival, a 16-17-year-old. She couldn't compete in 2019 because she was too young. Okay. So that she had a performance, she won the National Sports Festival in 2018 December in Abuja. She's in 52 feet. Now she has done a 51-7 in new TV. And nobody is talking about that. Nobody is encouraging all these athletes. All we now hear is they are not even attending competition. They qualify for. They did all their best to achieve best performances. So I think I will have to give my colleagues more time to
Abiola, you are also among those who have been running track and wearing the green, white, green. What are some of the things the athletes will require to be at their peak and take it to the major event like the Olympic Games?
Well, before I dabble into your question, I would like to respond to my friend Fred Abadi and what they just said here. Yes. In a nutshell, you see, even the Bible says, a house that divides against itself can never stand. And there's one thing we call internal forces and outside forces. Okay? If you would agree with me that internal forces is always more stronger than the outside force. It's a pity that we had a president of federation who cannot keep his house in order. It's just a pity because that is an adage of the Yoruba. They said something again. Come, if the Athletic Federation of Nigeria board comes together and fight the external force they're having, which is the ministry, they will go a long way in achieving their aims and objectives. You cannot come and say you want to make things happen and do it your own way. Things are not done like that. We are in a democratic system of government, which they themselves were being elected into their position. And if you want to move any motion, it should be with the majority of the House. Okay, if you please let them answer me this question. Why don't Nigerians have enough competition in Nigeria to talk about. How many competitions has Nigerian athletes engaged in for the past 2-3 years? We have board members. One, they lack credibility. And if you lack credibility, how do you bring back your credibility? It's for you to build it back yourself. We have nothing less than 12 to 13 members, if I am correct. Do we say that none of these 13 members could make their state organize one competition each in a year? We have 76 states in this country. Why are we being starved for competition? We beg for competition. And the little competition we even have one this year, which I heard that the president called Athletics Kenya and invalidate such competition just to score some cheap political points. What kind of points are you making? This is a competition where athletes get performed greatly. You know, I was watching, I was just saying this well, the result. I was so happy. I was calling athletes and like, you guys, even despite all stats against you guys are still performing. I support athletes to the extent that like, yeah, hey man, when something is happening, I want to be behind. In the later I have to support athletes and say, see, Nigerian athletes prosper because we were denied some kind of support. No, I would say opportunity, some kind of support. We need to have a lot of athletes are even having today. You understand? But yes, not talk about all that and forget the fact that we are Nigeria. We are better working together instead of working against each other. The big responsibility is their AFN president to put his house in order. But everything went south when he decided that he is going autonomous. He wants to register AFN to be his own, to look like a club. Yeah, if that's the future, but you should have an idea that you could sell. Sell it to your boss. Make your boss understand, okay, why? This is the reason why we should go autonomous. This is the reason why AFN should have their own bank account. This is the reason why we should control the affairs of AFN by ourselves. And if something is going to be done, it should be done by the popular majority of the board. And if the board comes together and right around this point, you'll see that to protect their mission and their purpose to the ministry and lay it down to the minister, I don't think they're going to have a problem. But when we have, fractions, when we have people saying going right and the other going left, we cannot put our own house in order. How do you not? Agree with them and tell the ministry that, this is what we want, and the ministry is just going to look at you like, God, are you guys playing or are you guys joking? Do you think this is just a joke? It's what I've said. Every public officer should be held accountable for their stewardship. Let them go give account for the past 4 years on what they have done and what they have achieved. Abiola, and you see their achievement. Yes, hello, Abiola. You dwell too much on the politics or the administration. Our concern or the major concern now is the performance of the athletes, and which is what we need to source for. For instance, let me go to Frederick. Some companies are in Nigeria, but they are not coming out to sponsor our star athletes, our top athletes to a major event. Why is this happening, and how can we correct it?
Why is this happening? It's because ministry. Yes. Because ministry
we have big companies, we have big organizations. They are not coming out to sponsor our athletes.
It's because ministry is involved. Ministry have a very peculiar credit on their side, in the sense that look at the whole country. How many government parastatals is actually working? None. So if you are a company, will you associate yourself with an association like that? Now, how do we get better? In order for me not to dwell too much on what Biola is talking about, this and that, but we won't want the sport to get better, as you said. My goal.
After all, the board has been dissolved.
What I'm not fighting for myself. What I'm fighting for is the future of my children. I don't want my children to come and compete under a federation that is being midwifed by a minister or a ministry. And that is why I respect Engineer Ibrahim Gusso so much. He's fighting for such a federation, an autonomous federation that doesn't have to depend on anybody or any ministry. I painted a scenario 2 days ago in social media that the situation we are experiencing now is that of a sugar daddy who has a permanent girlfriend and a side chick. In this case, the permanent girlfriend is the Ministry of Sports. The sugar daddy here is the minister. The side chick is Olumide-led AFN. Now, the side chick is waiting for the minister to finger the sugar mommy to get money so that they can take our athletes to Poland. And that did not play out well. That's why we are in this mess. And what Gusso stands for is not for this not to repeat itself going forward. For God's sake, this is what we have been on for over 60 years. It's time for change. I went through the same thing. 2007, Egbenuke took a full page of newspaper and narrated his ordeal with the ministry. Biola that is speaking today, me and him were in Kenya together, World Championship. 2010. We left for Kenya 2 weeks in advance for that championship. First time in history. I'm narrating the story to understand how ministry is dangerous. Let me just go like it's dangerous to an average Nigerian athlete. We were in Kenya for 2 weeks. We are waiting for kids. Kid no gree come. Competition started. People don't start. We don't dress like masquerade. Wear different uniform to go run for track. Now there we did when Kenya pull up with suitcases of Nike. Before our own come, they give us singlet to go and compete. That's all we get. You understand? And today we have a young man in the name of Sunday Adeleye, went out of the way to get us a contract. Something that has never been heard of before in the history of AFN. He did that in the spirit of autonomous, in the spirit of we don't have to depend on the government. Buhari government is borrowing money everywhere and there. He saw that, he said no. He decided to use that spirit of autonomous and went out and get a contract. The best thing these people could do is to start accusing that he didn't carry them along. Why I go carry on along, knowing your reputation, that if I stand side by side with that, nobody will listen to us. Now again, they say you can't pay the money into private account. Why will I go and source for private money and pay it to a government account that I'm not in control of? So that when I will chop on without my knowing and come and instead accuse me again. Please, whatever we are saying today, we should be careful of tomorrow. It is not about us anymore. It is about our children.
Okay, Frederick, yes, yes, please, Abiola. Okay, Abiola, it talked about Sunday Adele going out of his way. In a situation like this, I am still worried about the army. That's why I'm asking the question on what we can do now to be able so that the army can enjoy.
AFN has to go autonomous. AFN has to get autonomous. I'll be in charge of their own daily affairs. Simple as that.
The politics in AFN is what can put Nigeria happy and all the stakeholders back in the game. Because one bad policy that a bad leader makes the whole country afraid. We can see what's going on in our country today. Just one bad wanted to host marathon. Nigeria is not a marathon running country. Nigeria is known for sprint and jumps. Kenya Kututu want to host a competition. He wanted to host marathon. For crying out loud, we are not a marathon running country.
I beg. I want.
Let us start playing here and there. It is the solution that we are looking.
I want to ask Biola one question. I beg. Can I ask a Biola question? Can I ask Biola one question? Can I ask Biola one question?
If I want to talk politics, you know we don't have time. No, I don't want. I will not want to talk about performance. We will talk about some other time. Let me pick it from the 7 constitutions. Yes. Yeah, the 7 constitutions can never be done. 70 is the most appropriate word you should use there. Meaning, we are setting a good platform for that. Let everyone organize at least one. That would be that 6+1 Abuja. That's 7 constitution. He said on the program that was marathon. I think Access Marathon is the main program on the main marathon on the program. If you check what I read this calendar, May 20th, 2022, there's going to be Garden City Grand Prix silver label. Go and check what I read this calendar. That is the working of Sunday Adelaide that you're talking about. Sunday Adelaide organized dynamic competition, dynamic athletics competition in Abuja in 2017. And we have been talking about board members being very innovative. Abagay mentioned that Nigerian uniforms is an item. Somebody went out of his way to secure a 2.7 million worth of kits for Nigeria. Now we can't complain about uniform any international competition until the end of that contract. Maybe by the action of this board now, the contract might terminate stuff like that. No, if you convert 2.7 million worth of kits into naira, you know how much you have saved government in terms of kits. I see where Nigerian athletes will wear rubbish at competition venue, and we are talking about motivating our athletes. Who is going to wear all these uniforms? Are they not these athletes? Then when they know that has been taken care of, then we move on to the next thing. But what when the board member there, he did not carry on that. Our people, they want a contract that will save money. This one has nothing to do with it. So that they can share money. So if we're talking about board members, how do we arrive at board members? We talk about our state. My state, the chairman of ABETIS in my state is Chief Adela Tukukoya. I cannot call you. We are both from the same state. What has the woman really done to ABETIS in my state? And she was imposed as the chairman here within the election. Onokoya should be vying for a position in my state. I will vote for him as president or chairman of my AA. Because I know what it will do. I know what it did to the Amuson. To US. And we discuss more about this. So if Biola Onokoya wants to run for chairman of Ogun State, I will support him on everything. I think because these are some of the people who are the athletes at that. Yes, he is there, right there in US. He did not achieve maybe 10% of what the chief achieved. And you can see that